Everybody, here I am sitting in my studio at Viacom. This is Patricia Windrow with a program called the Cable Easel, which is devoted to the business of learning how to paint and draw. Draw and paint in that rotation. Today I, however, have a guest, the supervisor of the great town of Brookhaven, Henrietta Acampora. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Pat. Nice being with you.
Well, this is to talk about caricaturing and portrait drawing rather than painting, and the two are very closely related. Portraits most of the time are very faithful to the subject at hand, and caricatures are more, well, they're more a spoof and fun to do. And because time would be too long to do your portrait, Miss Acampora, I'm going to do a caricature of you. You ready for that?
I sure am.
Well, you've done it for me once before, so you know that caricatures are not meant to be cruel, but maybe sometimes they are, but what they're really supposed to do is to provoke amusement. Not that you're anything but great fun, caricature or not. So here we go, and I have done a very slight amount of sketching before just to get the general size on the page. I'm working on a perfectly white page, and I'm going to be working in charcoal, and if we have time, pastel. I'm sure we'll have some time. So I'll talk about that as we go along. Charcoal, of course, is in a pencil form because it's a lot less messy, and it's also easier to control. So here we are. Let me put my glasses on and observe the subject at hand. You're a good sport, I must say. So the most identifying thing is what you have to find when you're doing caricatures, and if anybody who knows you, Henrietta, I shall call you, knows that this wonderful head of hair of yours is the identifying mark. If anybody goes to a function here in the town of Brookhaven, all they have to do is to scan the room with their eyes, and when they see that great halo of white, shiny, beautiful waved hair, they'll know you're here.
I'm glad you said halo, Pat.
That's what it is. It's a halo.
But I don't have horns.
No, halos and horns don't go. Okay. But anyway, this wonderful, has your hair always been this beautiful?
Well, my hair was a mousy brown for many years, and then I dyed it to a red.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Was that good?
I was a flaming redhead for many years until I became allergic to the dye, and I couldn't use it anymore.
Okay.
And then I just let it go.
Well, it's wonderful. You know that. I mean, people must compliment you on your hair all the time.
I haven't got too much of it. You know, I have a wonderful hairdresser who makes it look like there's a lot.
Do I smell some kind of a plug going for the...
Well, I'm not even going to say.
Right.
I mean, you know, I'm not allowed to do that. But
no, that's okay.
She is great, and she can camouflage, and it looks like I have a lot of hair, which I don't. I have very fine hair.
Yes, and it's wonderful. Of course, it caricatures itself or draws itself because it's such a wonderful texture and color. In any case, the other part, probably the other thing about you are your laughing eyes, and I'm sure that all of your family knows that those laughing eyes are one of your main characteristics. And working with eyes in any kind of portraiture is the window to the soul.
Really?
The eyes are the window to the soul. That's what they say in a poetic way, and they also tell a great deal about what goes on in the person's personality with the eyes. Yours, of course, are just dance and sing all over the place, and that probably means that you are you're basically a very happy, joyous person.
I am.
Oh, there you go. See, it all says so in the eyes, and with caricature, you try to get the most often seen expression. The most often seen expression on you is are these laughing eyes. You laugh very readily, and always there with a joke.
Well, you know, you can't take yourself too seriously, Pat.
Yeah, that's deadly, isn't it?
And the type of job I have, you have to find some humor in some situations.
Oh, absolutely, because, well, I mean, I've caricatured you in our local newspaper. Did you see that one that I did of you where you're making them tell everything? Did you? You know, when they throw those editorials at me, I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to handle it. I'm not quite sure how to handle it. And then I called the paper and I said, "Have you got a photograph of Mrs. Acampora?" And they said, "Well, yes and no." And so I said, "Well, we're going to have to change their source of supply." So I just kind of did you from memory. But it's always great fun when I know that I can rely on this, on the hair, on the laughing eyes, because, you know, when you have those features, which are the most important part, then you know that your caricature is probably going to work. Did you know that Xavier Cugat was a wonderful caricaturist?
Oh, yes, I knew. I see many of his caricatures in, now what restaurant? Bruno's had some of them. I can remember in a steakhouse in New York.
Yeah, right, yes.
And I just seen him on television. You know he's going to have a band again?
He is. How old is this man?
88 or 88.
Oh my, well.
And he feels that it's time for him to go back in the big band business again.
That's astounding. That's really astounding.
I was amazed.
Yes. Also, did you know that Charlton Heston is a caricaturist?
No, that I didn't know.
Well, nor did I until my husband had a meeting and he sat and he doodled and my husband brought home a caricature that he did of him. It was quite good. It really was. So talents lie in many different places.
Absolutely.
Well, here we are, and here's your, I'm going to find, there you go, there's the smile, that's what we're after. See, people who paint portraits have got to engage their subjects in conversation so that we don't get what is called a human still life. Because one of my dear friends was a portrait painter, and he talked those people to death to get expression, and it worked. So I learned that from him. I've just come back from Spain.
I've never been to Spain, but I've just come back from Mexico myself.
Well, I'm sure that's vastly different, except for the language. But I found out that the lyrics from My Fair Lady are not so. The rain in Spain stays mainly everywhere. I mean, it rained. It rained in Spain. And it was... I would think probably I would have preferred Mexico. How was Mexico? What did you do there?
Warm.
Yeah.
And I did absolutely nothing.
Okay.
I read a book. I lounged around the pool. We took one trip to a nearby island, Cozumel, because my daughter and her husband like to snorkel. And that's the place to snorkel.
Yeah.
The waters are beautiful and clear and clean.
Did you snorkel?
No.
No, that scares me to death. I can't do that.
I don't like to go underwater.
No, me neither. That
I'll
makes
stay on top of it. I like water, but I don't want to go under it. And they enjoyed it. They said it was the nicest place they ever snorkeled.
Yeah.
And that's about all I did, Pat, and visit some fantastic restaurants. And that's it. I enjoyed their groups. They have many musical groups, and the Mexican people are mimics. They mimic some of our greatest stars, some of this country's best stars.
Really?
There was a young man singing like, I can't even think of his name, Kenny Rogers.
Really?
And you would have thought that Kenny Rogers was in the room.
How fascinating.
He was so great. Yes, it was. It was very. I didn't realize that about the Mexican people, but they do mimic. And they do it very well.
That's intriguing. Well, America, you know, it sort of busts out all over the world when you go there. I mean, you go to Spain, and guess what they're wearing? Blue jeans.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, I mean, everybody looks American. It's very interesting. So you went to rest.
I went to rest, and the people there were wonderful. I really enjoyed their company, and they very, very meticulous, very clean.
Wonderful.
And all in all, it was a lovely vacation. I really enjoyed it. I'd go back again.
Now I'm going to talk about this pastelling that I'm doing now. Your eyes are green.
Hazel.
hazel green, which is sort of yellow, brown, green, whatever. And when one does this kind of extensive elaboration on the drawing of the caricature, then it becomes more than just a caricature. Caricature is purely black and white. But if you have the time, and it's always nice because color is very identifiable to a lot of people. Because your hair is so pale, and I'm working on white paper, I had to use the device of putting a background in and leaving the white paper. So that's what I just did. I've got, I'm going to be able to find a moment to put this flesh tone in here, and you have a very healthy flesh tone, so I'm going to just an indication with the side of the pastel. I'm using the side of it. I think that it's more interesting for me to talk to you than to talk about this technique, because I can talk about this technique when I'm doing flowers and things. But when I'm talking to a human being, it's much better to be able to talk to the human. So let me just put your cheeks in.
That'd be nice.
Yes, yes.
Got to have cheeks.
No, but I mean they're always so healthy looking. You're a healthy specimen, aren't you?
Thank goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not, then you really have lost the fight. Well, let's say that with just a slight tone of red on the mouth, with a little bit of space left for the highlight. You know what, I'm going to give this drawing, Viacom is going to give this drawing to some organization that may want to hang you. They may want to display the picture, not
display.
Hang.
That's better than hang.
Well, I almost blew it that time. And so you're a lady with a busy schedule, and we certainly appreciate your taking the time to come up here and do this. It's great fun for me to be able to always talk to you. You've been doing this for a wonderfully long time, and I hope it goes on for another long time. And I think the town of Brookhaven knows what it's got.
Thank you, Pat.
I really do. I think that it's wonderful to see you doing all this stuff and doing it on such a consistent basis anyway. So slightly hazel eyes, which we will settle for green right now. And in a moment I'm going to show you this and hope that you have not come up here in vain. Okay. Shall I give you a sort of
Oh, yes, let me see.
All right.
I'm anxious to see.
Okay. As I always do this, here you go.
Oh, that's me, all right.
That's right.
That's me,
you know what
right.
I forgot is the violet eyeshadow. But if
Yes,
I
don't have violet eyeshadow on today.
Okay, I don't have any violet, but I'm going to make violet by putting pale blue and a touch of red, which is the way you do it, and then a touch of white, which turns it pale. So we'll get this eyeshadow really much more properly and more carefully done afterwards. So, but violet eyeshadow is another identifying mark. You always wear that, right?
Usually, yes.
Yeah. Very, very good choice.
Either violet or pink.
Very good
Different
choice.
shades of pink.
Well, there you have it. And we have appreciated this.
Thank you, Pat. You did well.
Thank you for coming. It's really always great fun.
My pleasure.
Good. Come again sometime.
I will.
Good. back again after Miss Acampora left, and so I'm going to continue with this business of doing caricatures and talking about how one approaches them. People are interested. Before I do that, let me just say that this is a simulation of a studio, and the paintings on the walls are mine, slightly related to what I'm going to be doing next. The next few weeks are going to be showing me doing landscape paintings of strictly local scenes, which everybody can go to and work from if they want to from life. And my business is to work from life, and my caricatures of these famous people are working sort of from life because I work from television. And a lot of times when there are close-ups of these well-known people, such as you're going to see, and I won't tell you who it is because I'm hoping it'll be obvious, that I'm working actually from life once removed, television being what it is. So let me continue. Let me start here, and you can I'll talk about it as I'm going, and I think, and hopefully you'll be able to know what I'm talking about. The relationship about the hair with Miss Acampora is the reason that I chose this particular personality, because there's a great deal of hair, and just as a general connection, Mr. Bronowski was able to make wonderful connections with his series, so I think I'll just do the same thing here. And so I'm going to be, I've started with the hair, the proportion, the characteristic of the hair, and as we go along it may become more and more obvious. Naturally, these well-known people change their hairdos a good deal of the time. I did this drawing from television a while back, and in the meantime the subject at hand might have changed the style, but I think that there's something that you cannot change, and that is what we were talking about before, namely the eyes. So concentrating on that at this time, you'll see what I'm talking about, that the eyes can be identifiable. Sometimes it's almost immediate, but we don't have to, we've got a little bit of time, and I shall be able to. So when there's a great deal of darkness and makeup used, especially in women performers or anybody, like Miss Acampora wears purple eyeshadow, you concentrate and exaggerate that. You take what you see and you make it even more so. So if there's a lot of personality around the eyes in makeup, then you just emphasize and do more to the makeup than what has been done in life. But working from life is far easier, even though some people might question that. And the reason for that theory is that the information is all there. What all you have to do is to figure out how to transfer the information that you see onto the flat page. So my instructions have been always, for a long period of time now on my television programs, is to work from life. And if life is not available, or if subjects aren't available, or you can't get out, then you work from sketches. But we're dealing primarily now with the drawing of this personality, and taken from television. There are so many opportunities during the year, and of course during the entire television season, of being able to find personalities to work from, because they're on the airwaves 24 hours a day. If they're not live, then they're also on recordings, tapes. So here we have the beginning. Now, if that's possible to see whether or not that's identifiable yet, I'm not sure. It would be nice if it was. A little bit more concentration maybe on the makeup, and the extraordinary identifying use of the eye makeup here just might be able to give you some clue as to who this is. Not only does this particular personality have very characteristic eyes, but also a characteristic mouth, which we're dealing with now. And I'm hoping that before too long it will become obvious who this is. Now, you minimize the parts of the face which are not important to the character. So there is no importance to the neck or the clothing of this. The importance is in three elements of this particular drawing, and that is the eyes and the hair and the mouth. The nose, of course, is obviously questionable, and I'm going to questionable about whether or not it's an important feature. That's all I mean. And I'm going to apply some color now as an even more identifiable feature of this particular personality. And when I did the drawing of this person, it was the hair was red. I'm accomplishing that when I'm using this pastel in a sideways manner. I'm just using the pastel sideways. I combine the yellow and the red, which is a rather bright red, and use it very, very lightly in order to make a kind of a tone of reddish. Pastel needs to have some help, either with fingers or with let me put something back here because there's something bothering me back here. There we are. So here we have, that's probably all the color that we're going to need to see in this particular drawing. But I'm smearing it with my fingers, which is what pastel does. The fact that I have used a grease pencil for the black instead of a charcoal pencil means that I'm not picking up all the black dusty quality that you get by using charcoal. The grease pencil does not smear. That's why I used it for this, and then just a slight bit of color. And when you do this with pastel, you have to use it with a great deal of care because it's if you want a pale color, you can always add white. I'll demonstrate that for a moment now. Give you a feeling of how you can make that actually quite pink. And this particular actress doesn't use very much makeup, either in person, I think, or even in her roles. So there is only a slight bit of a pink tone to that. And here is just a slight bit of a cheek tone there, and very slight. We're dealing in great subtle businesses here. And here we have some color on the eyes. They are I'm using some slight green. It may not show up clearly enough, but anyway, with apologies to Miss Streisand, there we are as a study done from a television program in which she spoke and was being interviewed, and I was able to keep her. And so I'll sign it, and signing a caricature is important. It should be just as free and not self-conscious as the drawing itself. So with that generally on the way, let me go to another one, and a little bit of Scotch tape to hold this up out of the way, and then we can get to the next one. Here we are. Let me get my, all right. Now, so the next one, let's go on to onto a male character here and see if we can talk about caricaturing men. Men are more difficult because they don't have all those elaborate hairdos that you can rely upon. They don't have makeup, and a lot of the times they don't have makeup if they do their actors in roles and so on. But for the most part, men don't have all those wonderful things to rely upon for the caricaturist, namely the hair and the makeup and so forth. But and of course I'm much more cruel with male caricatures. I find myself really doing an axe job on some of the male caricatures. It's either mean streak on my part, or I find them more interesting to do that way. So I'm doing a rather severe caricature. There are different degrees of caricaturing. Some of them are very severe, and some of them are less severe. The less severe caricature was what I did with Miss Acampora, and the more severe ones are done with the people who are not here to lop my head off if I have made them too cruelly awful looking. But this is what you might call a really severe one, in which the elements are so totally exaggerated that the identification is there, but at the sacrifice of really almost human qualities. So I think that you will understand what I mean when I say harsh and severe, where everything is so really terrifically exaggerated that the comedy is more evident in this kind of a drawing, and the humor is much more evident And the people obviously are going to be able to recognize it for the fact that the features have been so exaggerated and pulled, so distorted, pulled totally out of, and this is not a pointed nose. I have to make sure that it's a down sweep on the nose. So having to work very quickly, you have to work very quickly with caricature, and reducing it to simple, very, very simple lines is the trick. So here we have a really less than, I think it's less than a minute and a half or a 2-minute caricature, which is, the reason it went so fast is that it was so simplified. Here is another one that I can give you some feeling about, and hopefully we'll have the time to do this. And if we don't, then we've had a good time anyway. Let me just tear this off. I can't find that Scotch tape. Here we are. And this one is also now another male, and his identifying mark are his glasses. And now when people wear glasses, that's wonderful for the caricaturist, because a face with glasses is usually dominated by the glasses. And when they're large ones, then you really have something very wonderful to work with, because all you have to do, and then inside the glasses are eyes. And then we have one. And so let me go on with this one, talk a little bit about the personality involved with this one, and hopefully you'll be able to be able to identify it. When I'm doing these and the audience is involved with it, there may be requests from people. So if you would care to request a caricature, because I'm going to be doing this kind of caricature studies again, write to Viacom at 1600 Motor Parkway in Hauppauge and ask me by a postcard to do a particular caricature, and I probably will be able to accommodate in the future. Now, these worry signs in the forehead of this particular person, and then the very long face that comes down and kind of turns into a pudding face. Well, you know, sometimes you succeed and sometimes you don't. We always try to do it with a minimum of time spent. The hair, of course, is red, and it comes out from the sides, and it's slightly balding on the top. I've made this drawing much too large, but that's okay. And this guy won an award for one of his pictures just recently. I've got to wrap this up now because time has played a trick on it. I hope that Woody Allen doesn't mind too much about that one. I can probably do better, but we were running out of time. Appreciate your watching. Hope you got something out of it. Tune in at the next scheduled Cable Easel broadcast. This is Patricia Windrow at Cable Easel Viacom. Thank you, and bye-bye.